Ravens flock. We gotta talk. We gotta talk because there's some concerns for the fan base about a certain quarterback. Number 8, Lamar Jackson. Let's get into it. All right. So Ravens flock. Um, there is a lot of concerns regarding Lamar Jackson right now because he has not returned. Obviously, the Ravens had practice today, and some people were hopeful that he would practice today because if he practiced today, he may be able to practice tomorrow, which means there's a good chance that he could play in this game against the Falcons. Let's go back because we got to give this some context. So Lamar Jackson suffered his PCL sprain, his knee injury, against the Denver Broncos a couple weeks back. That injury was considered to be somewhat of a minor injury, nothing major, nothing season ending. It was expected to be a 1 to 3 week injury. So 1 to 3 weeks for him to recover and be back on the field. All right, everyone accepted that. That means he's most likely going to miss the game against the Browns and the game against the Steelers. That was just the expectations there. And that's exactly what happened. So week 1, we played against the Steelers. He didn't practice that week. Expectation, cool. Week 2, we went up against the Browns. He wasn't supposed to play. He didn't. Expectations cool. Here we are. It's week 3 of the estimation of the injury estimation, and Lamar still hasn't practiced. Now, big part of why there are concerns is because there was a report that came out, I believe by Rappaport. There was a report that Lamar Jackson's estimation time, his estimated time of return was supposed to be the Christmas Eve game against the Atlanta Falcons. So there was a report out there that said Lamar should be good to go and he should be back out on the field, or he's expected to be back on the field playing by the Falcons game. Here we are. It's Wednesday. Practice has already happened. Obviously, it's nighttime. We're getting ready for the next day, and Lamar Jackson still hasn't practiced. They play on Saturday. So with Lamar Jackson not practicing on Tuesday and not practicing here again on Wednesday, that's a problem. The good news is Lamar Jackson was in the facility today. We did see a video of him being in the facility. Well, he wasn't in the video, but he posted on his IG. So he was in the facility. He was in the locker room with the guys, but he didn't go out there and practice. And since the expectation, at least according to the reports, was that Lamar Jackson is expected to play or he's estimated to play in the Falcons game, the fact that he still hasn't practiced and we're past Wednesday now, that is a concern. So now people are starting to believe that Lamar Jackson most likely will not return. It's a similar situation to what we saw last year. You know, he went down with that injury. It was estimated that he'd be out for a couple weeks. And at some point in the season, it looked like he wasn't going to get back. But then he came back and he practiced for one day. And we all saw some of the clips of him practicing. And from those small clips, we could immediately tell he was not even remotely close to being ready to get back on the field. So we knew at that point Lamar Jackson is probably not going to return for the rest of the season, and we all just accepted it. And that ended up being the case. Obviously, we missed the playoffs. Now, in this situation, we're back in that same scenario. Lamar Jackson's not practicing. The season is winding down. We're still fighting for a playoff spot, and there's no Lamar. There was a belief that he could come back and play in this game, but after 2 days and no practices for him, there are some concerns. Now, obviously, you have tomorrow. Maybe he practices then. I don't know. But from what we've seen so far, it does not look like Lamar Jackson is going to be able to play in this game against the Falcons. And honestly, I don't expect him to. Me personally, when I heard that it was a 1 to 3 week injury, I immediately assumed that he's probably going to be out for a month because the way the Ravens have handled injuries this year is that they have given their players extra time to get as healthy as possible. They've extended the time of the recovery period because they don't want to have an injury be re-aggravated. And this is a knee injury for Lamar. This is a PCL injury. That is dangerous. That could be straight up season ending. The fact that it's a sprain is still a concern. Not a huge concern, but it is still a concern. The Ravens are going to take as much time as possible to get it done. There's a good chance that Lamar Jackson does not play for the rest of the regular season. If the Ravens can find a way to make the playoffs, I don't think they're gonna put Lamar on the field for the rest of the regular season. I'm serious. Let's just say the Ravens find a way to clinch a playoff spot in week 16. You know, they're going up against the Falcons. There are several playoff scenarios. Let's say the playoff scenarios work in the way in which the Ravens beat the Falcons, and then either I think the Patriots and the Jets both have to lose. Let's say it works out and the Ravens clinch a playoff spot in week 16. If that ends up being the case, I don't see why you rush Lamar Jackson back out there if you already have a playoff spot secure. Of course, you're still fighting for the division, but if you're already in the playoffs and you're trying to go on a title run, would you really put Lamar Jackson out there? That's the question. So that's the what if scenario. But we're not there yet. They haven't clinched a playoff spot, and Lamar Jackson is nowhere to be found in terms of being on the field. He is at the facility, so it is all good there. But the fact that Lamar Jackson hasn't practiced is not surprising to me. The fact that he hasn't been on the field is not surprising to me because I actually predicted him to come back in week 17 against the Steelers because I thought the Ravens were going to spend the entire 3 weeks of having Lamar do nothing, do absolutely nothing. He's not going to travel with the team if they go to away games. He's going to do nothing. 3 weeks of just rest and recovery because it's a 1 to 3 week injury. So they're going to give him all 3 weeks of that rest period. There's a good chance Lamar Jackson is fine enough to play, but the Ravens have decided to just be overly cautious because they understand what he means to the team. So there's a good chance they spent the entire 3 weeks just making sure this guy did not do any bit of work, nothing on the field to make sure that knee is as healed up as possible. So at that point, after 3 weeks, you come out there next week, you're going to be taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers, week 17. Now you can focus in on having Lamar start to practice then. That's just been my estimation. But again, I don't know if that's the case. I don't know if the Ravens are just being overly cautious or if the injury is much more severe than we initially thought. It could be the latter. I don't know. But Lamar Jackson not being on the field is definitely something that has been concerning fans, especially because of that report that came out that he was at least expected, or there was a belief that he would be back to be able to play the Atlanta Falcons on Christmas Eve. And it does not look like he's going to because he missed practice on Tuesday. He missed practice on Wednesday. Why would you throw Lamar Jackson fresh out of not playing football in about a month? Why would you throw him out there with 1 or 2 practices? Like, let's just hope for the positive. Let's just assume Lamar Jackson practices on Thursday and Friday. That still wouldn't be, or maybe they don't have practice Friday because it's a Saturday game. I don't know. Let's just say he practices tomorrow at least. That still wouldn't be enough to throw Lamar Jackson out there. 1 day of practice, would they really want to throw Lamar Jackson out there after 1 day of practice? I don't see that happening. If he didn't practice today, that means he's not going to play in the game. I just believe that's going to be the case. I would be shocked if Lamar Jackson was out there on Saturday. I do not think that's going to be the case, but we will have to see. But yeah, I think the Ravens are just handling the injury situation with an extra level of caution, especially because their playoff scenarios are so great that they believe they can get it done and clinch a playoff spot without Lamar. And at that point, once they are able to clinch a playoff spot, they can just give as much time as possible for Lamar Jackson to get as healthy as possible for them to attempt to go on a playoff run. Because once they clinch a playoff spot, who the hell cares about the division in terms of trying to fight for that with Lamar? You could just get Lamar as healthy as possible to be 100% by the time he gets out there, and then you try to do something in the playoffs. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe the injury is far worse than we initially thought, and it could be similar to last year when Lamar Jackson just does not return for the rest of the year. Because if the Ravens would have made the playoffs last year, Lamar Jackson wouldn't have played. He just wouldn't have. It would have been Huntley in the playoff game. So that's just how it would have been. But in this situation, we don't know if it's the same case because it could be better, it could be worse. We're hearing it's a 1 to 3 week injury, and now we're in week 3, and he hasn't practiced. We haven't seen him on the field, so there are some concerns. But I think we have to just wait and see how things pan out. This isn't the week for me to panic. I don't think this should be the week for anybody to honestly panic. The Ravens have shown that due to last season, they're willing to be overly cautious on how they're handling injury situations. And since this is their franchise quarterback, at least we believe this is their franchise quarterback. I don't know if they're going to pay him or not. We're not going to get into that, but we do believe that the Ravens believe that this is their franchise quarterback, or at least we hope that they believe this is their franchise quarterback. Either way, this is your guy. This is the leader of the team. This is the quarterback. Why would you rush him back when he suffered a PCL injury? Why would you rush him back? If it's a 1 to 3 week injury, take all 3 weeks to have him completely rest and not do anything. After that, week 4, you can come in and let him start doing some light work and have him be limited in practice and slowly work him back. If you want to attempt to have him play in that Steelers game, it's a possibility, but who knows? So I don't think this is the week to be concerned. I'm looking more towards next week. If he's not on the practice field at all next week, well, then you can pretty much wrap it up and say Lamar Jackson's not playing for the rest of the season. But then again, if they clinch a playoff spot, That could also be a situation where they're like, we're just not going to play and put him out there and put him in any more danger. We'll just wait to the playoffs and let him go out there. I don't know, but right now I feel like this isn't the time to be fully concerned. However, I do understand there are some concerns because of that report coming out saying that Lamar Jackson is at least expected to be back by Christmas Eve. And he's not really practicing, so we have no idea what's going to happen. So there's definitely a lot of concerns for the Ravens flock, but I think we just have to wait and see what happens next week. Next week is going to be the answer. Next week is going to be the key to see everything in terms of Lamar Jackson's potential return, or maybe he's just going to be out, and who the hell knows what happens after that. But we'll just have to wait and see. Anyway, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching. And with that being said, that is all I've got, and I'm out of here, man. Peace.